It's 9 o'clock. And thank you, Sheila. I wanted to just do a few things before we dive into our meeting this morning. So I was wondering if you could please put in the chat if you love snow or if you are a snow hater. Which one are you? Love or hate? What's your relationship with snow? I mean, not snow, the School Nurses Organization of Washington. I meant snow that's coming from the sky. Sorry. Snow lover. Love, love, love snow. Fantastic. I personally like the snow when it is on the fields or on my lawn, just not on the road while I'm driving. So I love snow too. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen very briefly because I wanted to make sure that you could all see the agenda. Let me know if you can see it. So if you see it, give me a thumbs up. Fantastic. Okay, so we're doing the introductions. I have a little bio on Brianna, who's going to be speaking today. And then we'll have some updates from Carrie about all things snow with School Nurses of Washington. And then we'll have our health district updates and then Kathy. So please keep in mind that we need to have you keep yourselves muted unless you're going to be speaking. Also, feel free to put any questions that you might have. If it comes to mind, you don't want to forget it, put it in the chat because Sheila and I and Kathy are all watching the chat as well, and we can make sure that those get asked, or if you want to wait until they're done, by all means, ask after they're done presenting. Just want to make sure that you know how to use your emojis at the bottom. So if everyone could give me a thumbs up that they've seen that, or if you want to raise your hand so you know, so we can see that you know how to use those emojis. They're at the bottom under reactions. There we go. Awesome. We see some thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Well, we're really glad that everyone could be here today, and thank you for your input on making these meetings more accessible for you. So we appreciate that, and hopefully this will help everybody out. Today we have Brianna. Am I saying your last name right? Pardo? Is that correct, Brianna? Fantastic. So Brianna is with, sorry, she's with the Family Health Centers, and she is, well, I'm going to read her bio, so I apologize because I can't do it justice if I just sum it up. She said, my brother died of a drug overdose in 2012, and it set a career path for me to learn more about addiction and overdose. I graduated from Wenatchee Valley College with my bachelor's degree in nursing in 2019 and started work as the opioid treatment network nurse, or the OTN, with Family Health Centers as a part of a grant from the state opioid response. We are going on our 6th year. The Family Health Centers is a federally qualified healthcare facility in OMAC with 5 locations in Okanagan County, and it serves approximately 200 patients currently. The OTN offers a low barrier access to medications for opioid use disorder, community events to decrease stigma, and Narcan education with training to decrease overdose deaths in the community. I know that you are all familiar with her. She has spoken to you in the past, and this time we've asked her to join us today to go over some resources and training ideas so that we all have to provide education and training to staff, and so sometimes that can be a little daunting. So Brianna's here to help us with that task. All right, thanks, Brianna.
Thank you for having me. I want to say that, I'm kind of like boots on the ground in the clinic. We serve the patients, and that's how I see the educators in schools. They're with the students, and a lot of this education should start, as prevention, right? And I don't think that we're not able to do enough prevention. And so by getting this information to the educators, I hope that it empowers you all um, to do as much as you can to get the information out to the students and the fellow staff in your area, um, to just continue the trainings, and go from there. So I'm going to share my screen, and I have a presentation for you. I have lots of resources, and the links to everything are on the slides. So I'll share the presentation with Lene and Kathy to give to all of you, so that you can do further research if you would like. There's so much to talk about, and I could spend a lot of time on every subject, but I just want to give you everything I have, so that you can go from there and learn more as you choose. So I'm going to go ahead and do this share. Oh, looks like it started from the end. Hold on one second. Can everybody see that? If you can, someone can unmute.
Yes, I see it.
I can see it.
Thank you. So, just briefly, what are opioids? There are opioids that can be found in nature, like morphine and heroin. And then there are synthetic opioids, which are like hydrocodone and fentanyl. Chronic use results in dependence and or disorder. The older term we used was addiction. And I wanted to just mention that there are adulterants that can be found in drugs, especially if they're illicit, such as xylazine, which is a benzodiazepine, used in veterinary medicine, that has been found in some areas of Washington, and could be mixed with the drug to make the drug high longer. Or lidocaine, to again potentiate the drug. There could be stimulants, or people could be using stimulants like methamphetamines, thinking that it doesn't have anything else in it, but it could also have fentanyl. And then there's diluents, like bulking products that uh, producers of these drugs add to the fentanyl to make it, more more product and make more money off of that. There's contaminants that could be in there, like metals and waste, that could be dangerous and harmful. So it's important to remember that opioids cause respiratory depression, and that's why they're so dangerous. There's risk of addiction, death, and reversal agents only work on opioids. So when it's mixed with other drugs, there's more risk of brain damage, irreversible respiratory depression, and death. And basically the Narcan not working on the stuff that's in there. And then I like this image just to show you like where drugs are made in the US that are controlled by the FDA versus like where this fentanyl is coming from in the desert somewhere. And then this is some information and the link to this report on overdose death rates. And so you can see the fentanyl and synthetic opioids death rates under 30 have had a dramatic increase over the last 10 years. So this is alarming, and basically requires action on all fronts to help save these young people that are dying and also over 30, you can see those rates are also very high. A lot of people have heard of like this rainbow fentanyl targeting young Americans. Some people say that, why would drug producers target youth when their base is going to die if they use? But I believe that there is people out there who target youth in order to get them addicted for various reasons. And keep the supply of people with use disorder going. And this is just a reminder that fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine. And it only takes a few grains of this drug to be considered a lethal dose. And from what I see in the jail, I also work at Okanagan County Jail. People are taking like hundreds of pills a day. Their tolerance for this drug continues to increase as they use it, and so they're putting themselves at really high risk. So the majority of these drugs are coming from networks in the cartel. Texas and Mexico. Naloxone is the brand name is Narcan, so a lot of people would just refer to it as Narcan, and it temporarily stops the effects of opioids. So it's important to note that it can wear off 30 to 90 minutes after it's administered. So if somebody does have an opioid overdose, you want to get that person to the hospital so they could have supportive treatments to make sure that it doesn't wear off and they go right back into overdose. There is an injectable form of naloxone that requires to be drawn up into a syringe and injected, but the majority of what is being handed out these days is nasal Narcan, so that people feel that it's easy to train, easy to administer, it's not intimidating that way. And in the hospital setting, they may use the injectable form to give to like neonates in overdose states. So it allows for more accurate dosing, but the nasal Narcan can be given to children and adults alike. So it's a life-saving medication, legal to possess, administered to anybody with a suspected overdose. And this comes directly from the OSPI guidelines, which I have a link here for you. That includes a naloxone skills checklist in that information. And basically, it's been reported that for in 2022, 2023, based on this survey of Washington state schools, Narcan was given 42 times versus only 6 times in 2021 and 2022. And it's been said that those numbers are lower than what is actually done because of the way that the survey went out, and when it was received back, there was overdose deaths during that time, and more Narcan distributed. And so we're here today because of this Senate bill that was passed that requires school districts with more than 2,000 students to have at least one set of opioid overdose reversal medications on site, and for the purpose of assisting a person with risk of experiencing an opioid overdose. There is a standing order for naloxone. So basically, it authorizes any eligible person or entity in the state of Washington to possess, store, deliver, distribute, or administer naloxone. So, based on your school's guidelines and your policies and procedures, you're going to have maybe designated people who are able to give Narcan. I would recommend that all staff be trained and empowered to give Narcan if needed. and know where it is in their school. This is directly from stopoverdose.org. It's a second page to a trifold brochure that they have available to print off directly from their website. And this is the training tool that I use. I have this laminated, and when I give talks at schools, I bring it with me and I pass out these brochures because I just think it's very simple and easy. It goes through all of the steps. Basically, number one, you want to look for signs of overdose. So somebody who is breathing slowly, gurgling, gasping, they look clammy, have cool skin, maybe they've lost some color, they have a blue or gray tint to their skin, nails, or lips. You might see pill bottles, needles, or alcohol around them. If you suspect an overdose, you want to treat it that way. It's not harmful if you were to give Narcan to somebody who is intoxicated with another drug, or potential heart attack, that kind of thing. And in youth, you would probably suspect more overdose rather than a cardiovascular event, unless they were swimming. Then, of course, that might be a drowning or some situation. But it would be unusual for a youth to have a heart attack unless they have a pre-existing condition. So first thing you want to do is try and wake them up. You shake them, call their name if you know it. Rub your knuckles over their chest bone or underneath their nose to try and wake them up. If they don't wake up, you want to call 911 right away. You don't have to say anything about drugs or medication, because at this point you might not know what's going on. You just want to let them know this person's not breathing. If you've already given Narcan, you can say, I've given them Narcan, but it's not, required. Obviously, you want to just get that responders on the way. And then you want to give naloxone and start rescue breathing if that's something that you're comfortable with. You would give the nasal spray into the nostril as it's pictured here. And it's the same dose for adult or children. And then you would, if they don't respond after 2 to 3 minutes, you want to get, or sorry, it says 3 to 5 minutes, you want to give them a second dose. So it would be a new cartridge in the next nostril. So each cartridge has 1 dose, shouldn't be reused, and each kit of Narcan has 2 doses. And that is because basically it's possible that 1 dose doesn't work, and also it could wear off. So you want to have 2 doses. Do rescue breathing. Oxygen is critical. So at this point, if the respirations have been depressed and they're not breathing, you want to get oxygen to the brain. So you'd give them rescue breaths. And there's a little picture here that shows what that is. Basically, tilting the head back, lift the chin, give 2 quick breaths, and the chest should rise, and then give 1 slow breath every 5 seconds and keep going until they start to breathe again, or help arrives. You want to stay with them if they can't wake up and breathe. You want to stay with them, watch them. And know that there is the Good Samaritan law. So if you get medical help for an overdose or alcohol poisoning, you and the victim cannot be charged for drug use, possession, or underage drinking. That's really important when you're talking to people who might be using drugs, or youth who are afraid that if they were to call 911 that they might get in trouble for some reason. But because of that law, it protects them. You don't want to give Narcan to somebody who's awake. And I'll go over that in a little bit here. But basically, if they're arousable, you want to stay with them, try to keep them awake, maybe get their support person or parent to come pick them up and let them know what you suspect. If you give them Narcan, they're just going to be really uncomfortable and upset with you. And we'll go over what happens in that case. But basically, this is information on the dosages. So this has full prescribing information at the naloxone site. and I just liked here what it said, that approved by the FDA since 1970s, naloxone is a very safe medication with the potential side effect of a theoretical risk of allergy that has never been documented. So if you were to look at like the prescribing information and the allergies, you know, people have reported like nasal stiffness, nasal irritation, that kind of thing. But basically, it's just very safe, and the dosages for adults and children, one spray into the nostril, is the same. The only time they recommend maybe a different dose is if it's, again, a infant or a neonate. And in that case, even if that was the only thing you had, it would still be the lowest dose available. So if you only had that and you did have an infant who was suspected overdose, you would still want to give that dose. Storage is basically room temperature. Um, it says excursions are permitted up to 104 degrees. Do not freeze. Uh, but even if it is frozen, it says, however, Narcan can be thawed, to allowing it to sit at room temperature for 15 minutes and may still be used. Protect it from light, and and if it freezes, that it may not spray, and that's the concern with it being a frozen cartridge. So if it's an emergency, you just want to give it, basically. I know that there's been some studies about leaving it in hot temperatures and still being effective. There are studies that it still remains effective even 30 years after expiration date. That's reported by the Department of Health. So basically, if it's been stored at room temperature, it could be good for over 30 years, and away from light. But you know, if once it gets frozen and it gets excessive temperature, they say if that's what you have, use it. But of course, it's best to have an unexpired room temperature stored medication at the schools. If And I'll give you some more resources on that. Um, So basically, your policies and procedures should empower staff to take action. In these OSPI guidelines, it says that personnel can distribute or administer school-owned opioid overdose reversal medication to symptoms of an opioid overdose. Could be a school nurse, a care professional, or trained staff person located in a healthcare clinic on public school property, or just a designated trained school personnel. So that's basically anybody who's been designated and trained. And again, I recommend that to be everybody. That the opioid reversal agent can be used on school property, including in the building, playground, bus, field trips, excursions, basically anywhere. So it should be in emergency kits that you bring on your field trips or anywhere that students could be. Our staff has gone to schools and done educational talks to the students and brought these overdose emergency kits to hang on the wall. And some schools put them right above their AED. And then there's a wall sign here that shows this is an overdose emergency kit. This one does not have a lock on it. And you can see it can probably fit like 4 kits in there. So some schools' policies allow them to have them on the wall and be fully accessible to students. Um, so there's things that are required by the laws for you to do, and then there are things that we can do better. What might be best is to have 1 or 2 kits on campus. What might be better is to have them in multiple places, and best might be to just have them out, unlocked, accessible to students as they need, so they don't feel stigmatized or pressured or concerned about getting it for themselves if they need it. Or maybe they have parents who use and they would like to have that on their person. Um, So again, this speaks to educating kids and prevention, and they want to know the risks. They should know the risks of using opioids and illicit drugs. And studies show that they want to know how to help others. They want to be empowered to help their friends or to have that education to share with people. And they should know where to get Narcan. Maybe the school can't provide it to them, but they should be able to provide information to them of where they can get it so that they feel empowered to be able to help themselves or their friends. Um, and so there's a link here to this emergency cabinet. So they could be purchased. They're about $100. The signage is about $35. Um, Again, like through grants, we've been able to go to schools and actually provide this to some schools in our area in Okanagan County. And we've also had these beautiful booklets printed out for kids. This is Mind Manners, Drugs and Brain. This is a whole series of education at a elementary level that talks about what effects drugs have on the brain, and like what are opiates, what are stimulants, what does alcohol and marijuana. There's a whole series of this, and there's also a teacher's guide, and that's the link to that information. So after you give Narcan, what can you expect? This is straight from the Narcan prescribing information, and basically adverse reactions that were reported in healthy individuals were like increased blood pressure, constipation, toothache, muscle spasm, pains, aches, nasal inflammation. Not really anything that would prevent you from giving this life-saving drug, right? It's either that or death. So you really want to keep that in mind when you're about to give Narcan. Um, Abrupt reversal of opioid effects in a person who is physically dependent on opioids. So it's somebody who actually has been taking opioids, is had an opioid overdose, and they could be sent into immediate withdrawal. It's called precipitated withdrawal. And so they're not going to feel good. That's why I was saying if somebody is arousable and awake, you don't want to give them Narcan because it will immediately reverse the effects of opioids. And now they have body aches, fever, sweating, runny nose, sneezing, goosebumps, yawning, weakness, shivering. They just feel like the worst flu ever. Tachycardia, and they could be aggressive upon abrupt reversal because you just pulled away their security blanket. You took all of their good feelings and turned it into like this horrible flu. Of course, if they're at risk for death and they're not breathing, you have a responsibility to do that. But the person's not going to feel good. They may immediately start vomiting or swinging or just really not, just completely not knowing what has happened to them. So just letting them know, I believe you just had an overdose. You're safe. Help is on the way. You know, we're not here to get you in trouble. I just want to make sure you're safe and breathing, like that kind of thing. And so cardiovascular events have occurred with Narcan administration, but the cause-effect relationship hasn't really been established. And this is associated with people who had pre-existing conditions. So again, it's very safe to administer, and somebody who's had an overdose may not be happy about it, but they will be alive if they're awake and able to live to see another day. This is stopoverdose.org. There is a specific site just dedicated to schools, overdose education, and naloxone. And so there's videos, there's training materials, there's posters that can be printed out, that kind of thing. This is a great resource for you. And then Kathy provided this list of agencies that you could get naloxone from. Of course, family health centers, Thriving Together, Grant County Health District, School Nurse Corps, and soon the Washington Department of Health plans to launch a naloxone distribution effort that will focus specifically on Washington State high school student support. And eligible schools can receive 2 free boxes of naloxone. And there, so hopefully that'll be coming soon, early 2024. And then there is a site where right now schools and libraries can request Narcan from Narcan community donation programs. That is a link to that program right there. And then I've included some website information here. Basically, anybody can go and purchase Narcan. If you went into a retail pharmacy, you can purchase it, but it could cost like $100 unless you have a prescription. If you wanted to get a prescription from your doctor, most likely your insurance will pay for Narcan. So that you can have that. But if you're not wanting to do that, or if that's not easily accessible, or if you don't have insurance, you could purchase Narcan. And these are some places where you can directly purchase Narcan, because there is that standing order for Washington State. So you don't need a prescription. And this is just some ideas that we've been to over 13 different schools in our area. Unfortunately, not the one in Okanagan or Omak, the one that's like 2 miles away from us. They haven't really been very responsive about getting our team in there to talk to youth. But in your schools, I would encourage you to look at your staff meetings, your PAC meetings, your coaches and counselors, and potentially your students. If you're willing to have recovery coaches with lived experience, people that have been there, done that, and can talk to kids and kind of steer them in a path that maybe they never thought about before, that is a possibility. And alternative study programs, or those types of programs. And then these are just in Okanagan County, some resources where you can get Narcan, Ferry County, Chelan, Grant County. Oh, and then also there's websites here where you can have Narcan locators. And then, of course, that's the number to our program, the Opioid Treatment Network. People can call or text. And if we get a call and that's not in our service area, we will connect that person to services. Okay, so I'm trying to stop my share.
You stopped sharing your screen.
Oh,
So
good.
we've gone
Okay.
back to the regular. Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions? I know that was a lot of information.
Thank you for sharing your story. But so you guys can come to schools and teach students if my superintendent's open to it?
Yeah, I don't know where your specific school is, but
So Blake.
Soap Lake. Yeah, that might be a little bit farther than our service area, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. I would, I could always look into what peer support or recovery services they might have closer to you.
Okay. I did have somebody from the health district come out and teach all the staff this year with Narcan too.
Yeah. Yeah, in some schools we've been able to do kind of what we call drug awareness days, where we had peer supports and people from behavioral health and myself and a nurse, go to each classroom and kind of talk to the kids about different subjects. And so
Cool.
we did subjects on stimulants, opioids, overdose, and suicide, just like talking about suicide prevention and asking your friends how they're doing, that kind of thing. And we found them to be very interactive. They had a lot of questions, and I think that, kids aren't dumb. They're gonna know things, and they're gonna see things, and to pretend that it's not gonna get to them is really ignorant. And so getting that information, getting the information to them ahead of time before they talk to their friends or their cousins or whoever and get misinformation, or use drugs for maybe the first time and the last time. That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to prevent.
Yeah. I think that's awesome what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy has her hand up. Do you want to go ahead and speak, Kathy?
Well, I was just going to share what Jody had done, because we do have a similar program at Grant County, at the Grant County Health District, and they are very happy to come out to schools. You can reach them through the Grant County Health District webpage, and just look for their opioid prevention link, and they'd love to come out and speak to staff and provide naloxone training and training on opioids and fentanyl. And so would be happy to come and help you. And I know they've gone to several districts in Grant County to provide support for them. And they also provide free naloxone when they come out for schools as well.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? I'm looking through the chat, and there was someone that mentioned, I think it was Donna who mentioned that she wanted to thank you, Brianna, for coming to their district. And sounds like you went last year to share your story and help onboard their Narcan problem. Or sorry, not their problem. Help onboard their Narcan program. So
Great.
to
Yeah.
prevent problems.
Yeah.
All right. If there aren't any other questions or comments, well, we can certainly get you Brianna's contact information if you want to message her, or directly if you have any questions or want her to, or to see about availability for her to check in with you at your district. Otherwise, we're going to check in with Carrie Harris, our snow area representative. Hi, Carrie. So as you may have heard, we have the snow conference coming up in the spring, and we get to host that. So one of the things that I asked Carrie to to do for us is to give us an update on that. So we'll turn the time over to you.
Okay, hello everybody. So before I hit on the snow conference thing, I did send an email out to all of you that I had email addresses for. About 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, about the nurses survey that was out. I think Nurses for Life is what it was, survey. That is not a requirement, it's a request that you guys fill that out. I did get a couple emails back from some of you saying that you had filled that out. Thank you. I also got a couple unable to deliver mail. I cannot remember at the moment who those emails were for, but like I said, I did attempt to do that mass email about 2-3 weeks ago. So if you get a chance, please go ahead and fill out that survey. Again, it's not a requirement, it's just a request that you do that for us. Okay, on to the snow conference. So conference this year will be the 15th and 16th of March. It is a virtual conference. All of our spring conferences at this point will be virtual. We have not gotten a whole lot done yet as far as the planning for it. We do have a theme. The theme is moving forward, mindset is everything. We are working on the brochure. We are hoping to have that done tomorrow, I believe is when we're meeting to finalize that. I do know we have some good speakers set up at this point. We have a, sorry, I just blanked on her name. She presented at the NASN conference, Legal Matters. I believe she's going to be presenting for us on documentation for school nurses. So I know a lot of us doing the Skyward modules or the other types of electronic health records. Our charting is not quite as extensive, all-inclusive as it was when we were charting on paper. I'm not sure exactly why charting from paper did not really translate over to the electronic medical records, but I've noticed some people have issues with their charting in that. So she's going to help us out with that to make sure that we are covering all our bases and not leaving ourselves open for lawsuits. We are attempting to get somebody from the Asthma and Allergy Foundation to come in and speak with us. Have not heard yet if that has been finalized. Currently, we have 7 or 8 speakers lined up. It's going to be a really good conference, and I hope you all can join in on that. That is pretty much all I've got for snow updates. So.
Carrie, would you be able to send out the survey, or maybe link to it somehow in our chat for those that may have gotten that request buried in their email?
Yeah, I'll see
I
if
know
I
that
can.
that is something that can very easily happen. So
Yes, I will see if I can't get that done.
fantastic. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
So just to add to Carrie's update on snow, another thing that Snow is working on is they are totally revamping their website. So that is really exciting for those of you who have maybe struggled in the past with the Snow website. We know it's been kind of clunky and sometimes can be challenging to navigate, but they're actually going to be working with an agency who is busily building them a new site. And so hopefully that will be launched here within a month or two, and should be a huge improvement. So we're really looking forward to that getting completed. So something to be watching for. And certainly for those of you who are members of School Nurse Corps, if you are interested in registering, and we hope you are, we really always encourage you to attend the snow conferences. And this particular one, because it's going to be virtual, is certainly very it's much easier because there's not a lot of travel involved with this. So if you're in School Nurse Corps, please connect with Sheila. You know Sheila Salmon. You can see her on the line here. Please connect with Sheila about assistance with your registration for that program.
Okay, I did put the link for the survey into the chat. There are some additional questions for Washington State nurses about burnout and retention. So really important information for us to have. So.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Carrie? Carrie, is there anything that anything that you're still needing help with regarding planning for Snow Conference that we can throw out to the group, kind of let it percolate and see if there's somebody that might be able to help out?
Our biggest challenge with conference is always getting speakers, and we're pretty much tying the last little bit up on that. Let me look at my conference planning doc really quick. Since it is a virtual conference, I can't think of anything at the moment to toss out to you guys. If that changes, I will let you know.
All right, thank you so much. All right, well, I looks like we have a little bit of time. I was wondering if we could do a quick toss into the chat, just as a quick little break. So I asked about snow earlier, who loves it, who hates it. Now, I was wondering what your favorite or what your favorite thing to make, bake, or cook is for the holidays. If you have a favorite cookie, I might need to Google it if I see it pop up in the chat. So take just a minute or two and throw into the chat what you look forward to making or baking this holiday season.
Okay, and Lena, while they're typing in their favorite cookies, I want to share my screen and pull up the
Sure.
Google Drive so we can take a
That would
look
be
at the
perfect.
toolkits.
That would be perfect. All right.
Ooh, pecan date balls. Yummy.
Peanut brittle. I might need to get some recipes from you guys here. So seasoned pretzels. Sorry, this is making me hungry. Oh dear.
Okay, so once I'm sharing my screen, I'm not able to see it anymore. So I want to make sure that you can see where it says toolkits.
Absolutely. Yep, we can see
Okay.
your, well,
All right.
you
So
do need to
those of
scroll
you
down, but yes.
who are familiar with Google may be already familiar with these toolkits. But if you haven't had a chance to dig through what we have on the Google Drive, I just wanted to make sure that people are aware that these toolkits are available to you. I am currently in the folder that is accessible to all school nurses. So everyone should have access to this folder. It's actually starts with the word access, and then it's up here at the top of the screen right here. It says access, and then it's all school nurses. So if you don't have access to that folder, if you have not started or you're not going into that folder frequently, all of the resources that we put out for school nurses are all in that folder. We're going to be talking later this morning as part of one of the projects that we're working on is really our redesign of all these folders. There's going to be some internal movement of folder locations, and there's going to be a lot of revamping of the content on the school nurse web pages for North Central ESD. So we're going to try to do a lot of this work during the Christmas break to avoid any kind of we don't want to create any delays or barriers for you. And it takes some time to do some of this movement of these folders. But this particular one is one of many. If I go into the Access All School Nurse folders, when you open it up, you should be able to see this alphabetical listing of many different folders. And each one contains lots of tools. Some of these contain all of your OSPI guidelines, all of your Washington Department of Health guidelines, anything that you are in need of, we try to find it for you so that it's all coordinated in one spot and you don't have to go out and do any searching to find it. So we keep it here on the Google Drive. One of the things we like about this as opposed to the web pages are we can update it anytime somebody puts out something new, we can add it to this. So we don't have to wait. There's no delay in getting something loaded on the web page. It's all readily available here for you. So the one that I wanted to open up right now is toolkits. So I just go down to the folder, open it up, and now I'm in my toolkits. So again, it's an alphabetical list, and some of it is by diagnosis. So we've got allergies and anaphylaxis, asthma, cardiac, concussions, diabetes. So some of this is by diagnosis. Others is by more like categories like drugs, tobacco, alcohol, and vaping, gender inclusive schools, or broad categories like infectious diseases. So if you ever are struggling, if you get into these toolkits and you're struggling to kind of find something, one of the things about organization of these things is everybody thinks differently. So everybody thinks differently and they all organize differently. And so we want to make sure things are organized in a way that makes sense to you and it's easy for you to locate things. The toolkit that I wanted to point out is naloxone. So there's a toolkit out here called naloxone. And if you open that up, we've compiled the things that you would need for your naloxone, not only for your training, but your WASDA policies and procedures, your all of your tools from either NASN or Washington Department of Health, and even your individual reporting forms. So one of the things, for example, that you would want to be aware of is that when you have an overdose in the school, you are required to report that to your county health district. And they have specific forms for you to use to do that. So if you open up the LHJ report forms in here, you will be able to see there's my specific counties and there's my report tools. So, and they're almost all fillable. Well, fillable forms that you can do online. And Grant County's is actually just an online form where you go onto their website and fill it out. So those are in your naloxone toolkit. There's a wide range of NASN resources that are available to you. All of your Washington Department of Health documents are in Washington Department of Health folder. So if I open that one up, there's my standing order. So your standing order, as these get updated, as they expire, we make sure that we update them so that you have the most current version if you need to have an order form available to you. All right, and steps for administering naloxone from Washington State Department of Health. What are our laws around naloxone? And you can just click in here, and here's all of our RCWs and WACs that are related to why we have naloxone in schools and how it's to be used in schools. And then there's kind of, and I hate to, I always call these orphans. There's all these orphan files, of things that we haven't either kind of figured out where to organize or how to organize. So they kind of end up out here on their own. But we try to make the titles very clear as far as what they are so that it's easy to open them up and see what am I going to get to. Narcan quick start guides, overdose response instructions in English and Spanish, just like the sample that Brianna showed you, for example, the one that she uses when she does training programs. We have one in here in English and Spanish. I'll just open it up real quickly. And we actually have this one laminated and we keep it in all of our CPR totes. So when we're out training on CPR with our mannequins, we've always got our naloxone training tools with us. And so we could this is just an example of one, and this is available in both English and Spanish. So we have that in here. And just a number of other tools. For those of you who like to use Vector Solutions as one component of your training plan, it's always helpful to know what is in the course that people are taking. We hope that you have taken it yourself, not because we think you need to take it, but because if you use any training tool like Vector Solutions course, it's always a good idea to know what is in it. That way, if you find anything in the course that you think isn't very good, we can give feedback to the national organization to please work on their course content, because that happens. Sometimes we look at their courses and think, oh, I wish they hadn't done that, or that doesn't look right. And then we give them that feedback and get into a queue so that revisions can be made. So in this case, your Vector Solutions, the answer keys in here so that you can see what kind of questions did people answer about naloxone. And during your own training program, if you had them complete that course, then you can go back and quiz them again on what they learned in that Vector Solutions program. So it is one mechanism for training. Certainly, we encourage everyone to be using hands-on training with naloxone trainers. So if you can't find your naloxone trainer for some reason, because all schools have them. So if you can't find yours, please let us know, because we've got, we used to get them free, but we don't anymore. So now we have to buy them when we want new trainers. But if you can't find yours, please let us know. We want to make sure that every district has the training tools that they need for their staff training. And so that could be anything from a naloxone trainer to insulin syringes, whatever it is that you need to be doing hands-on training with. Please let us know if you don't have it. We will get it for you. Okay, any questions? We hope that you spend some time playing around in the toolkits and look to see what is out there. The other thing we hope is you make suggestions to us on, oh, I wish your toolkit had this or that. Because some of you have really excellent examples, excellent examples of care plans, excellent examples of checklists that you've created. And these are toolkits are a way for us to share those things with others. So as you create tools or you bring tools in from other school districts you've worked with as you've come into North Central ESD, we really encourage you to bring your tools and to share them. And the toolkits are a great way for us to do that. So any questions about that? Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing. All right, and we'll get you information out about how our toolkit and our Google Drive folders, how those addresses are going to change. If for some reason you have created favorites and you're going directly to those files right now, it's going to probably involve changing your favorite address, which is very easy. It's not hard. We'll create a little guide to help you get that done. Okay. Any questions about the Google Drive? Nope. Okay. Look there for things like, as we get into district assessments, that's where you're going to find all your district assessment, your forms, your instruction forms. If we create any training videos about district assessments, there's a separate folder for those. So there's a folder for almost everything that we develop or that we want to make sure you have readily available to you. So you will find a wide range of resources in there.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
I am not seeing Dr. Wallace quite yet. So I was going to share my screen really quick. And this may sound kind of silly, but I wanted to share something that I learned in the last week. As you all know, I am new to the ESD and new to the area, so I'm still learning. And maybe what I learned this week, somebody doesn't know. So I was going to share my screen really quick. It is on the website. Hang on. All right. Sorry. Let me find. Okay. All right. So as you can see, I have the ESD website pulled up. So when I sent out the reminder and said, hey, if you need the Zoom link, it's on the calendar. Lo and behold, the calendar is right here. So if you're looking at the calendar, you can see, oh, here's today's meeting, and it pops up, and there's the Zoom link right there. There are other things on this calendar, other professional development opportunities on here. Sadly to say, I didn't learn that until just this last week. There's also another place where you can find the Zoom link for this meeting right here in the professional development. So here's live events. So here's today's meeting, but then there's also other meetings that were previously recorded, not of the school nurse corps, but just other professional development opportunities that you might find interesting. So I just thought, oh, maybe there's someone else that didn't know this, and so I thought I would share really quick. So I am still not seeing Dr. Wallace. Sheila or Kathy, did he come on, and is he here?
I've not seen him. I'm going to reach out and see if I can connect with him.
Okay.
I just sent him an email. Excuse me.
Okay.
Both of
Sounds
his email
great.
addresses.
Thank you.
So while we're waiting to have him come on, Kathy, would you mind swapping and doing your updates while we're hoping he is um, logging in?
Sure, I am happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, can you see my screens? All right, perfect. Okay, so this is going to be fun and relaxing. Right? Happy holidays. So this is my very weak attempt to be very holiday oriented and have just like this little snowflakes on here. So please bear with me during the course of this PowerPoint presentation. And I appreciate being with you here today. So let's go through some updates. The purpose of having me come on each month is really to provide you with updates from the Department of Health or the Board of Nursing or OSPI, just to make sure that you know some of the things that have changed or some of the changes that are being planned. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you is that Washington Department of Health has just within the last month put out the new aerosol generating procedures guidelines. So while this doesn't perhaps apply to your district, I want to make sure that you know that it's there because we do have students who are on who have trachs and do require different types of procedures that do end up creating a lot of aerosolization. And so we have had guidelines in the past, but perhaps not as maybe as current or as in detailed as this particular document is now. So I would like you to take a look at this when you can. It's not a very lengthy document, but it will provide guidance on how to manage a student when you do have a student in these situations and you're concerned about aerosolization. So there's links here to the document. There is so there's a link to the guidance, and you can also find this on our Google Drive. So we have it downloaded and it is in a folder where you can access it there. And certainly let me know if you have any questions about it after you have a chance to take a look at it. But if you have a student in this situation, it's a good tool for you. The next new thing from Washington State is this new Teen Health Hub Washington. So this is just recently launched within the last probably within the last month. And this is a great tool. The intent of this is really to provide some up-to-date information for teens on topics of interest to teens, different health issues that they're going to have questions about. This is a safe place for them to go to get accurate information. So they actually, Washington Department of Health worked collaboratively with a teen group to develop this product. It is in process, so it isn't complete. It's going to be growing over time. Currently, it's only available in English, but there are Spanish language materials that are coming. So this is just a quick introduction to it. Your link is here. There are some posters that are great. You can print out posters and post these around in the district so that teens know that this is available to them. We're also going to be getting packets, I believe, from Department of Health, who's going to be emailing us or mailing us out some packets of printed materials that we can then distribute out to schools. So you can either print them off here or you can wait until we actually get a packet. I would anticipate that we're not going to receive things probably until January, but it's just a heads up that this is a great tool. It's now available. The other thing that they have put out in their media toolkit is really like things that you can use on your own Facebook pages for your school districts. So there's some media statements like this Facebook announcement that is an example on this page. You could use things like that to really get the word out to your students that and to their families, their parents, that this tool is available to them. And then if you have any feedback about it, please share it with Department of Health. They would appreciate hearing about it. Okay, now immunizations. Hooray, this is the best news. We have, all of our reports have gone in. We only had 3 that were pending. And by pending, I mean, they're in process. So we have 3 that are still in process. And as soon as those are into Department of Health, we'll be at 100% for our entire region. So I would just say congratulations to everybody and thank you. I know this is a lot of work each year, whether you're doing it in school module or you're doing a red cap report, however you're getting this information into Washington State Department of Health. It was just absolutely fantastic to see how well we had done in terms of getting all of our reports in, and the fact that the ones that are remaining in process are still there, for a variety of reasons, are in the process queue. So we're going to be at 100%. And I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. That's wonderful. As soon as we get reports from them, which usually takes a while, so we won't see anything for a bit. But once we do, we'll be able to share those out regionally and, with the statewide report. Something to be thinking about for the future. This hasn't occurred yet, but it is in process, and it has to do with the school module and with the student directory. So is there anyone who isn't familiar with the student directory? The student directory is a tool that's in both Skyward and Cumulative. So it actually was created, it's only been in place for a couple of years. It actually was created to really assist with the school module product. So it is being looked at because some parents don't want to have their students listed in the statewide database. And so there's efforts being looked at as to how to address that. So stay tuned. If there's any changes to how students are listed in here, if we need to have some special way to not list students in these directories, then we will let you know. And we'll hear from our Skyward and Cumulative teams about that and what happens with that moving forward. Naloxone distribution, as Brianna mentioned, Washington Department of Health is partnering with ESDs, and the goal for this particular distribution program is to provide 2 doses of naloxone free to every high school program in Washington State. So it's somewhat limiting in that it's only addressing high schools, but it is another mechanism for us to be able to provide some naloxone free of charge for our school districts. So there is some restrictions here on who is eligible, and this is open to public high school. It's basically public high school programs. So that could be a public high school, it could be a public school, alternative high school. It could be a school that's a K through 12 school. If you have grades 9 through 12 in your school, then you're eligible for this free naloxone. If it's a skills center or a tech center and the students who are enrolled in it are high school students, then they are eligible for it. And then certainly if it's a title program, like a migrant health program or a special education program, and the students being served are in grades 9 through 12 or up to age 21, then they are also eligible for these free doses. So the way the program is set up at this point is as an ESD, we've committed to participate in this program and distribute these doses to districts who are interested in participating in the program. And so we've sent a survey out to all of you who are eligible. So for example, I know Anne was on the line earlier, and Benedum did not receive one at St. Joe's, for example, because they would not be eligible as they are not a public high school program. So if you didn't receive one, it just means that your program or your school wasn't eligible for this particular program. So one thing I want to point out is just because a district decides that they would like these free doses does not impact any of the other free doses that we have, like through School Nurse Corps or Thriving Together or Grant County or through Brianna's program in Okanagan County. Those doses that we have available right now are available for high schools or elementary schools or middle schools. So whatever school grade you want to use those for, they are still available to you free. These are just another supplemental option, so you can get 2 more doses specifically for a high school program. So we ask that you complete the survey by this Thursday. And the reason for that is because our ESD is going to be applying to the Department of Health for a set number of doses. We need to explain to them how many doses we want to begin with. And we'd like to make sure that everyone is included on that who would like these doses. And so on that survey, you have the option to fill out your sites. Which sites do you need doses for? So for example, Wenatchee School District has, well, they have the high school, they have the alternative high school, and they have the tech center. So there's 3 different sites for one district. So on the form, you have the ability to fill out the however many sites you have. I put 10 sites in, so I hope that's enough. If 10 is not enough and you need more, just let me know what the other sites are and we will add them. But I don't think anyone has more than that. We should have the doses delivered to us in Wenatchee by, I think, sometime in January. And once we have them available, then we will distribute them out. If you decide you don't need them yet and you want to wait to get them, then we will have them available for you. The other benefit to participating in this is that we will have you on record as a program participant if your doses expire or you use your doses and you need to have them replaced for some reason. Department of Health has committed to replacing them at no charge as long as they have resources available to them. So, you know, that could, hopefully that will be an unlimited timeline. If for some reason they don't have them, please don't forget that we still continue to have our other 4 agencies providing them to you. As long as we all have them, we want to make sure you have access to the naloxone that you guys need, and you don't have to go searching out to get doses. So if you see this PowerPoint and you look at it later, this little fill out the form link, that is the link to the survey. Even if we're past Thursday, please fill it out because we're going to order them because the order form is due on the 15th. So if you don't get it in before that, don't worry, just fill it out and send it in, and we'll make sure that you are included in this. Lena was sharing with you the professional development page. So one of the reasons that we have the professional development page along with the calendar view is because the calendar view is showing you things that are upcoming. So you can look ahead on the calendar and see, oh, I can link into this next week or next month, or I have a way to access this program that is a scheduled event that I need to, that I want to attend. But the professional development page not only repeats those links, but it has recordings on it. And we can't post the recordings on the calendar. So what we do is post them on the document. And so you can see, this is just some examples of things that have been available out on the professional development page. And these are webinars that have been recorded, and we post the links out there. So usually you'll find the links to the different programs. You'll find the PowerPoint links, so you can access training programs outside of things that are on the scheduled calendar. Another opportunity that was just presented in November, if you didn't have a chance to view this, Washington Department of Health and the Department of Ecology put together a great vaping debris disposal program. This topic has come up pretty frequently lately. People are finding that they have just drawers of vaping devices and they weren't sure how to dispose of them. And so, you know, they were just collecting them and weren't sure what to do with them, or they were just throwing them away in the garbage. And there's differences in different types of vaping devices. There's differences in what kind of disposal practices have to be put in place for different types of medical waste. And so these two agencies got together and developed a presentation. It's very good. It's very detailed. It is an hour and 45 minutes on how to dispose of waste specifically for schools. So it's really talking about the different types of waste products that you might find in a school district and how to safely dispose of them, safely and legally dispose of those products. There continues to be work. I know Chelan Douglas Health District is continuing to work on just kind of a more regional approach to how we're getting rid of our waste within our region. But this is really a very broad overview of how these things should be disposed of safely across Washington state. And there's some QR codes on here, which are really taken right out of the PowerPoint. You don't have to, you can access the PowerPoint and you're going to get these tools available, and you can access the link to the recording right off this PowerPoint slide, or go to the professional development page, and it's the very first thing on the recorded webinars because it's the most recent. So just done on 11/30. Okay, so changing gears a little bit. This is, I wanted to make sure you were aware of studies are being done fairly frequently. Oftentimes people are, researchers are looking for study participants. This happens to be one that's looking at asthma. And so it's called the MATCH. That's the name of it. So this study is called MATCH. It's Improving Medication Adherence with Telehealth Care Medication Therapy Management to Change Health Outcomes in Adolescents and Young Adults with Asthma. So you can see why they call it MATCH, because that is quite a lengthy title to try to keep track of. But this is a study that is looking for students who might be interested in participating in this. So each student who is accepted into this study is going to receive a tablet. They're going to have complete some surveys, and they're going to be getting some compensation for their participation in this. And we have two groups in Washington who are really kind of taking the lead on this. And one is Seattle Children's, and the other is the UW VA healthcare system. And so so it's got at least some state representation on this. And if you would like more information about it, there's a link down at the bottom. So if you have students, who kind of who you think fall into this category and would be great participants in this, we'd really appreciate you sharing this information with them and see if they would like to be involved with this. Okay, here is an update. This House bill is House Bill 5775. This hasn't actually been approved yet, but it is being looked at, and there's the thought that it is probably going to be passing through this legislative session. And it has to do with epinephrine. So those of you who recall the work that was done a few years ago around insulin and how to cap the insulin rates so that people were, there was some control over the cost for patients to get their insulin. This bill is going to address the same thing with epi, so that we don't see such exorbitant prices, and that there's some cap on the cost for this, which will make it much more reasonable for families who are in need to be able to obtain their EpiPens. So probably will pass. We'll give you an update on how it's going, but it is a House bill that's out there that is going to be of interest to us as school nurses to keep tabs on, so we can help our families understand it. Another update I just wanted to, and this is really more informational. Is there anyone who's not familiar with 211? 211 is like our social service locator. So so when you're looking for referral sources for students, 211 is an excellent resource for you. So rather than calling 911 because you don't have an emergency, you just need to find services, 211 is our social service locator. So our regional office is, you can see it, it's huge. So we are this huge red area here of the state of Washington, and our office for 211 is in Yakima. So if you ever have a chance to go and tour, it's very interesting. Our call center is down in the Yakima town of Yakima, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place to go. And if you're not familiar with 211, they have just produced this new video, and it's called 3 Ways to Connect. And it's actually explaining the new relationship between 911, 988, which, as you recall, is the suicide hotline, and 211. So they're all working collaboratively together, and this is a great video that they've put together on how this is going to work. And if you're not familiar with any of these three, this is going to be a way to introduce you not only to how they work, but kind of get you into looking at them and seeing how they could benefit you and your students. The other thing is their annual report, and I just did a screenshot of it so you could get an idea of their annual report for 2021 to 2022, and they'll have another one coming out soon, but it gives you an idea of the type of services that they offer. It's really only like a 3 or 4 page document, but explains the services that they offer and how many services they offered in the year across the state of Washington. So if you're looking for referrals, this is a great tool for you to use. Another new tool that's just been launched is the CDC has put out a mental health guide. So I know some of you are heavily involved with working with your counselors, working with your MTSS teams or other mental health or mental health, behavioral health teams in your school districts. And this is a really nice tool. It is got a lot of strategies in it that schools could consider doing or putting in place around, making supports for students in looking at different types of barriers to services, what kind of services they might be able to launch. So if you're involved with those types of committees, I would just encourage you to access this and take a look at it. You might get some good ideas from this. So there's an access link here, and then certainly it's also in, we have it in our drive as well. And if you're not familiar, this is actually part of the Resources for Action. Resources for Action is our CDC tools, and they cover a variety of topics. So for example, there's a topic on, there's a tool on ACEs, there's a tool on sexual violence, there's one on suicide. So these are all kind of different little toolkits that you could access that are similar to this mental health guide. And there's a link down here where you can go on and see all those different tools and how to access those. This is another little tool. Again, some of you have web pages and might have mechanisms that you're using in to just get information out to parents or for teachers to be sharing with students. But, I think all of you guys know how and are probably even feeling, I think, the stress of the holidays. It's just a really stressful time. So it's not only stressful for, adults, but it can also be quite stressful for kids as well. It's exciting, but it's also, sometimes with that excitement comes stress, and, for other reasons as well. So the North Central ESD Behavioral Health Team has encouraged people to use this little video. It's very short. It's only 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So it's really quick, and it's just a little guide on things and tips, that you could incorporate into your health room as you're talking with students. It's ideas for you. It's not something that you're going to share with the kids. It's really things that you could do as you are working with students to help them recognize stress and tools to help them deal with it. Oops, I'm going to not play it though. I'm going to skip to it. The other thing, this kind of came up because I don't know. We sometimes have people have asked questions about abdominal pain. We talk about things like stress and anxiety in schools, and so often it appears as kids coming into the health room complaining of stomach aches. So, and I think, how many of you see this? You know, is this pretty common where you have kids that come in, you know, could be not just holiday stress, you know, family stress or other kinds of situations can create these kind of symptoms in kids. And so this is a very quick little article and a little video on kind of, you know, what happens, you know, and what some of the causes are for kids coming in with these types of complaints, and some useful ways and strategies of how to help kids when they come into your health room with this type of complaint. So a couple of links on there for you for some quick training on abdominal pain, dealing with that. Some quick diabetes updates. So tomorrow is the last dish of the year. So for those of you who are participating in the diabetes and school health programs, these are monthly sessions, and each one deals with a different topic around managing diabetes in the school setting. And tomorrow's presentation is glucagon. So glucagon administration in the school setting. So that should be very useful. And a couple of other things to point out are if you've not in the past been to the juvenile diabetes website, just as a reminder, they have some nice tools that are available. One is the bag of hope for your students. So all young students could be interested in getting that. It comes with a backpack of materials for them. They may have gotten it through their provider office, but if they have not, then certainly you could sign them up to get this delivered to the school or delivered to their house, so they could have access to these materials. So there's the Bag of Hope. There's a program called No Limits, and this is actually a series. And the reason I wanted to make sure to point it out was because the holidays also are a difficult time for kids with diabetes. So, you know, not only is sometimes the anxiety of the season can alter their blood sugar, you know, and make it harder to control. But certainly the types of things people are eating over the holidays can also present a lot of challenges for them. So it is the No Limits series has a number of topics on it, and we can put the link in there for you. You can actually just Google JDRF and No Limits, and you'll get access to it right away. You may be asked to set up a free account on there. So just please feel free to just set up your free little account so that you can access all these training videos. They can be good both for not only for you, but for your parents and your students as well. So everybody can benefit from them. And then these new little books are just, I haven't had a chance to read them yet, and I'd like to get a few, and probably will be distributing a few of them to you and to our diabetic support folks, just for some feedback about them. Haven't had a chance to read them, so I'm not quite sure if they're something that we want to promote widely, but they're really geared for probably the you know, transitional kindergarten, preschool, first grade, maybe up to second grade. They're really kind of about the fifth, six-year-old ages. And just recently were launched by a nurse out, I believe she's out of Texas, and she's created these books, and they look like they could be quite interesting and might be a nice addition to the health services offices. Some of you probably have tools like this, and we've promoted a different variety of you know, children's books on dealing with asthma, dealing with seizures, dealing with diabetes, some of which have been around for quite some time, and this is just a new one now on the market that may be also of interest and might be useful to add to your toolbox in your health rooms. New Eyes is Sarah. Sarah, are you still on the line? Sarah Kruger, I see you. Would you like to mention your connection that you made with New Eyes and how that went for you?
Sure. I have not received the glasses yet, but Kathy, thank you for the resource, because we got some ordered for a student, and it was actually a pretty easy process once I actually got through with some of the information. But we had a kiddo who already had a prescription, but the parent just couldn't afford to pay for the glasses when they came because they didn't know the insurance wasn't covering them. And so I was able to get a release of information to get the prescription, and we went online, and I spent a few minutes with the students looking, doing the virtual try on for some of the glasses, and he picked out a pair that he liked. And we, the one challenge that I had was that the sizing is what I'm really nervous about. Because they come in different like millimeters of sizes, and I'm not familiar enough with a lot of the glasses to know what sizing is going to be exact. And so I was looking at a lot of the measurements. I did a few measurements myself on his face to try and see like what might fit properly. But pupil distance was really key. So I know some of the offices don't do pupil distance. So you could do that virtually, or the office had thankfully done it. So we already had that information. But I plugged it all in, and it should be coming sometime this week, and he'll get 2 pairs. So one for school and one for home, to keep, and he's excited. So I'm like, okay, this is great. Well, totally free. The only catch is it's a one-time deal. So hopefully this pair will work, because you don't get a do-over. And so we'll see if the prescription matches, if it works well for him. But it was, a really great resource. So thank you, Kathy.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that worked out for you. And maybe we could look into more about if people are interested in using this New Eyes program to get these free glasses, to look at more on measuring, or how do you measure, or can we get somehow a supply of things that, so you can see the difference in the sizes? Because
Right.
that's hard. Yeah, that part
It is.
hard.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
Because it was like measurements, and I spent hours looking online trying to figure out the measurements, because every company has different measurements for their glasses and how they measure. I did get an email back from the company, so I can send that to you, Kathy, that gave me a little bit more info on what the measurements were on the glasses. So that can be distributed.
Okay.
But there was like, even like between the nose, there was measurements, and for all the lens. Yeah. Anyway, lots of different things to do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So that's one resource that's available. And we covered some of these at the last session. And thank you for those of you who expressed interest now in signing up for that vision certification course through Prevent Blindness. So we're going to get that moving forward, and you'll get information about how to access it, and, kind of like how to complete that program. So I think that'll be really beneficial for everybody who has a chance to complete that. It will really help you with it's really not just about vision screening. It does cover that certainly, but really it's really about, understanding more about vision in general, and I think you will find it a very interesting course. Another RCW that could be changing in the future around vision screening has to do with color blindness. We have not been required to test for color blindness, and now someone has put in that request, and that is something that is going to be, again, nothing has been decided, no laws have been changed. It's just something that has been introduced as, could somebody look at whether or not this should be a requirement or not. So more about that to come probably next year. The other tool I just wanted to make sure you were aware of was the NASN Vision and Eye Health Toolkit. So there are so many resources out there that NASN has compiled into a toolkit. Take a look out there and see if you can discover all the different resources that they're listing there, from forms to screening tools to, all parent letters, all types of things. They've really done a nice job of pulling all those together, and the link is right here on the slide.
Kathy, just a quick note. Dr. Wallace is on the meeting, so whenever you are ready, I don't
Okay, I
remember
think I
how
only have a
much
couple
longer you
slides.
have.
I think I have just a couple left.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
School Nurse Digest is another tool. If you're not getting this already, it's very economical. It is a weekly email newsletter. If you're a school nurse corps nurse and you're interested in this, please contact Sheila and she will help you. But otherwise, there you can link to this right through Health Alert, School Health Alert, and schoolnurse.com. Very useful tool. All right, and we already mentioned this. We're going to be doing some cleaning. So we're updating our web pages. We're going to transition our folders. We'll try to do all this without making too much mess for you. And we will get you some instructions on how to get to those things after everything is all settled. We'll try not to be too disruptive. Lena covered this already, so make sure that you're checking out the calendars, both the calendar view for upcoming programs as well as the professional development view for nurses. And then again, we talked about this last time, save the dates. This is what's coming up and make sure that you are registered for the Pediatric Nursing Conference in January, the Spring Conference, March 15th and 16th, and then the School Nurse Day on May 8th. So registrations are not out yet for SNO or for the North Central ESD date yet, but as they come out, we'll make sure you have them so that you can get registered for those because we hope everybody's able to come. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Wallace. Thank you.
There we go. How's my audio? Hope you guys are well. I am at home doing the COVID dance with my family. It's hit us, and I've got a little one running around, so apologies if he makes an appearance. I'm going to do a quick presentation for you, and I really appreciate hearing some of the things that you had to share, Kathy, especially the sourcing for eyeglasses. That's certainly something I spoke with Dr. Person about when he was visiting a couple weeks ago, and something I want to talk with you more about. He's certain we can come up with a region-wide solution. So here we go. Let's see. I'm going to try and change this around so I can see comments if they come in. But today, really just want to hit on what's no longer preparedness for the respiratory season, but supporting you guys in responses because we've seen so much more activity over the past couple of weeks since our last meeting. Good discussion last time about school guidance, and I spoke with DOH and want to talk about that with you guys, and then answer questions about opioid overdose. I hate that I missed Brianna's presentation. She is fantastic. She's been doing such good work across the region, first with us at Family Health Centers in Okanagan County through our opioid treatment network, and now more broadly. And the teams that she's put together, not just for naloxone training, but really for supporting individuals and families that are working with their loved ones towards recovery or through recovery or in success in recovery is really impressive. And so I'm glad she had some time with you guys. This is our map from our last meeting in mid-November. And so just 3 weeks later, we see that the South has had many more increases in cases or activity of all respiratory illnesses. This is CDC surveillance of influenza-like activity. So looking at respiratory conditions in clinical settings. The Pacific Northwest continues to have lower rates, but are starting to have a little more activity. And note that this was from December 2nd, so 10 days ago. Which is where most of our data is coming from right now. The graphic on the right is a report from Washington State. Their influenza report is dated December 2nd as well. We had low activity there, but then local reports, our local epidemiology and local reports from healthcare partners and other community partners tell a story of pretty rapid change that we're seeing. On the state level, COVID, influenza, and RSV are all rising. RSV most quickly, kind of mirroring or even steeper than the RSV season we saw 2 years ago, and remained level over the past 2 weeks. But not certain if that's a peak or just a plateau, and we'll continue to see a rise. In North Central Washington, we're seeing COVID numbers start to go up. Influenza has met a state level threshold for enough disease activity out there to start making recommendations for increased precautions, especially in healthcare settings. And then, just like the state, the RSV that we're seeing in our region is increasing pretty significantly. In addition to these regional data, the discussions we're having with our healthcare partners more locally are that we're seeing increased hospitalizations for all respiratory illnesses, but COVID and influenza especially. We've got a lot of outbreaks in nursing homes right now, and are investigating those cases and supporting those folks, but seeing in several counties more long-term care facilities, adult family homes, and nursing homes with outbreaks, and are fielding reports from our partners that healthcare workers are out for a number of respiratory illnesses, often not diagnosed or specifically known whether it's COVID or influenza, but just seeing a lot more people out than in the previous month. And then we've had several deaths that we offer our condolences for, and all are tragic, all are surprises, and I know there's some heavy hearts out there, with particular details around some of them due to influenza and then other respiratory illnesses, not just RSV, COVID, and influenza, but those are cases we continue to investigate and support families and individuals and healthcare partners in responding to those. The school guidance, we talked briefly about last time, but I went back to DOH after that good conversation and said, hey, what are updates? What's in the pike? Are changes on the way? And at this point in time, there are no changes to either the COVID or the more general respiratory illness and communicable disease recommendations and guidance, either through the K-12 guidance for COVID specific, or the WACs that govern illness and respiratory illness in general. I think probably the next iteration will probably come after the respiratory illness season. It's certainly not a time when we're seeing this many cases or this much activity, and with the activity increasing, to consider dialing things back, because people are concerned enough about it right now. But the basic strategies, I think all schools have really good strategies in place now. And so oftentimes this is something that bears reminding staff, or reiterating just the basic procedures, hand washing, disinfection, ventilation, things that we've gotten really good at. We see in some of the cases and facilities that we work with that during a period of less disease activity, some of those practices get a little lax, and not as much attention is paid to some of those details. But when we see illness rates rising like we are right now, it's a good time to strengthen those defenses back up. There's this interesting thing that happens in the fall with vaccines, and there's oftentimes a push in September and October to get vaccinated. And over the past couple of years, as we've tracked vaccine rates, you see another increase in vaccine acquisition in late November, early December, and it usually coincides with the start of respiratory illness season. And clinics oftentimes appreciate or anticipate that. But I think we'll see that now as we're seeing increased respiratory illnesses, that people that want the COVID vaccine, the flu vaccine, now the influenza or the RSV vaccine, are going to work hard to try and get it now that there's more disease in the area. Testing either through your facilities or through PCPs or public health or home tests really helps people to understand their illness, what illness they have, whether or not it's COVID, and whether it's something that could be treated, and then how long to stay out of school or how to manage the symptoms and take medications to decrease the duration of illness is important and is included in those guidelines. And then exclusion from school, that's one of the requirements, is folks that have symptoms be excluded, that individuals with COVID are excluded for 5 days and then return after being afebrile for 24 hours and improving symptoms. That's really important to protect from transmission. And when folks have new symptoms, it's important to recognize that COVID is oftentimes presenting initially as really mild symptoms, might stay mild in some folks, but be mild for a day and then get worse. So good practice and good recommendation for folks with new onset of respiratory symptoms to stay at home for a day. If things get worse, then consider getting tested or seeing a PCP or staying home until the illness starts to improve. But certainly if the one single mild new symptom gets better, then coming to school after that. And yeah, again, returning to school in general after fever resolves or other specific symptoms specific to the disease are met. And then masking recommendations really haven't changed. They're really difficult to enforce, but it is an added layer of protection that's recommended for anyone with respiratory illnesses, illness symptoms, or for folks that have COVID, ought to mask even when they return to school for 10 days after the initial onset of symptoms, or 10 days after somebody has been exposed, or more broadly, when a school or a healthcare organization or other entities are experiencing an outbreak. I know that there's a lot of variation. A lot of these are recommendations, and people adopt them or choose not to adopt them in various ways. I think strategies are one thing, and culture of organizations is another. And so we see a lot of variation because of that. And if there are questions about where individual organizations are at, or what can we do to improve things a little bit, or which ones are the best ones to to adopt. I'm happy to have conversations around that. But certainly, when we see illness increasing, better to add to the measures that you're adopting, or get really good at the ones that you have adopted to maximize prevention. So these are just the two flow sheets that still stand and I think are still good tools. But I'll stop sharing there and take questions and other conversation if you guys have them. Check the chat. I don't see anything. Everybody still there? Good. Ben, I see a hand raised. Thanks.
I just wanted to say that, and just in reviewing this, that I just wanted to validate, at least from my perspective, that how difficult it is still, that although the rest of the world thinks that this has all gone away, that we still have these same guidelines as at the start. And that, if you look on there and you see headache, for instance, that kid should be sent home if you can't, test them for 24 hours. And what the actual reality of, first of all, getting a parent to pick a kid up for a headache, keeping that kid isolated, and actually following through those rules is really difficult to do. And it's a struggle anytime. I mean, I can test kids here still, but if there's any kind of an issue, it's really quite difficult. And
Yeah.
I just didn't want, I didn't want it to go unsaid that it's really, to me, still, if you bring it up like that, very difficult situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And it, it's one of those, clinical scenarios where there are recommendations, and then there is the patient in front of you, or the student in front of you, and you need to apply those recommendations to that individual student. In medicine, we talk about pretest probability and accuracy in decision making. And you can take a guideline or a treatment algorithm or a test or a diagnosis, and you want to apply that accurately. And you have to consider, what is the likelihood of this patient having XYZ? And then based on the symptoms that they have, does that increase their likelihood, decrease their likelihood, before you apply the test or the treatment or whatever it is? And I would say that's what you use when you are applying these recommendations. And so local epidemiology and prevalence of illness comes into play in that decision making. And honestly, this sounds complex, but I guarantee it's what many of you do day in and day out, every day, when you're trying to make these really difficult decisions. When disease prevalence is low, oftentimes the likelihood is lower, and the application to recommendations um, is going to be such that you don't have to apply them with as careful scrutiny. When disease level is high, when there's higher prevalence, you've got to consider that there's a higher likelihood that this child might have one of the diseases that is locally more prevalent, and take precautions based on that likelihood. And so now, when we're seeing higher rates of disease in the community, I think we need to consider that headache that was probably nothing in the middle of October could actually be something that could get other kids sick. And so now is the time to apply that with greater scrutiny. You guys know your communities the best. I can't provide you with, community level, zip code level, district level data on disease prevalence, but I think you can get a sense of whether there is more disease activity in your jurisdiction than is represented in what I've presented, or at a regional level or state level, and make decisions based on that. And I'm happy to support that decision making in any way that I can, and answer phone calls about that. It's really hard to create a decision tool or a guideline that meets each and every case. But if you guys in your health offices feel like there is a kid that should not be at school, I want you guys to be empowered to protect the safety of that one student and all students, in making a decision. You've got these guidelines to back you up, and I certainly want to support you guys, and can even try and get in on a conversation with you in the moment, if that would be helpful. But I hear where you're at, Ben. I think everybody's there. I'm there too. And it's really hard to take recommendations that seem cut and dry, and apply them to the dynamic spaces that we live and work in.
Do we have any other questions or comments for Dr. Wallace? I'm looking through the chat here. Oh, Michelle, did you have anything more to share about vision stuff? Michelle, do you want to
I don't have
elaborate?
anything. I don't have anything to share today. I understand that there are sources like the one Kathy presented, several other opportunities to to actually acquire the glasses. Even development of, so what Dr. Person has is technology to essentially create a database of kids' prescriptions, so that schools can then just order the glasses if they get broken, or when they change their prescription. It's going to take a more either a system-wide um, greater degree of organization, or just the folks that are able to contract with him to work on developing that. He's confident, and I know he's talked with Kathy in the past, and wants to continue the conversation about region-wide solutions, recognizing equity, recognizing the variation in resources that exist throughout the district, and came up with some really good ideas when I met with him. And Kathy, I want to follow up with you and your staff on some of those thoughts.
That would be great. And you know, we did apply for a project, so hopefully we're going to have a little bit of help with this effort to pull together all of these resources and really define them, and make it clear to everybody across the region what is available and how do they access it, and how is it paid for, and answer all these questions about exactly what can districts receive. So yeah, Dr. Pearson has been in contact with Lena. They've had, he just did a presentation, or at least they had a meeting yesterday again about more regional support. So we just have the number of things, and we want to make sure that everybody knows what they are and how to access them. So we're working on that. It would be great when we get something completed for people to be able to put their hands on.
So Dr. Wallace, I'm in Arando and Mansfield, and I've been in communication with Dr. Pearson quite a bit recently, and he's coming the second week of January to 4 of our schools locally. So he's going to come to Arando, to Chelan, to Soap Lake, and to Palisades. And I know there was a couple other schools who'd reached out to me that were interested, and he was just trying to get the ones he's been to before. And then, but he had some weeks in February and March that he could slot people in again. So I think he was just trying to get us that he's been to before. But he's super eager about coming back to our area to help with this.
Great. That's really good to hear. I know he would, I think he would turn this into a full-time job for himself if he could. He's really passionate about it. But he's only one person, and it needs staff, and needs folks to support him in his work. So I think that's another thing, asking him, how can we help get you prepped? What can we do while you're here to make the process smoother or efficient, make it as easy as possible for him. But yeah, we definitely, the best case scenario would just be to multiply him.
We had him for the day on November 30th, and it was super helpful to have a couple of people there, because one person kind of did all the pre-screening stuff, did the spot screener and the color blindness test and some stuff that allowed him to see 25 kids that day, where if he had to do that part. And then that person also on the back side helped the kid pick out the glasses and wrote all that information down. So it was really, and my 19-year-old daughter is the one who did it. So it's, you could have a parent volunteer that helped, but having a couple of people in there, and I kind of shuffled people, but he's super talented. We had kids who couldn't participate really in ways 1 or 2 better, and he knows how to do it the old-fashioned way, that he could refract them with his tools that he has. So I've got 21 pair of glasses coming in January. It was a great experience, but it is helpful if you've got an extra set of hands, at least one there the whole day.
Michelle?
Yes.
When he's coming to Chelan, I have some results, some that are kids failed, some I have what's written for why they failed, but I don't have any color stuff. I did not know that was a requirement.
It's not.
Okay,
it's not required. He brings that stuff. He has all that stuff, and that stuff that is usually, if he has an assistant, they check all these different pieces and have the kid ready. And he doesn't have an assistant right now. So he has all the pieces there. It's super easy to do. But it checks their depth. It's the one with the depth perception, color blindness, the spot screener, and then the pupil measurements. If all that is done and written down, then it maximizes his time to be able to actually do the part that requires his level of skills. So we were able to see 25 kids.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure we can do all that, but we'll see. So good to know. Thanks.
And that's what he said. Did you meet with him yesterday, Erica? Because that's what he told me yesterday when I did the Zoom with him was, yeah, he'll set that all up. And if he can have a person to help do it, then he'll get that all done when he's screening for kids.
It was brief because it's been really rough at my school with kids and a lot of other things going on. So I had like 10 minutes max with him yesterday. So
we can chat later because I met with him for like 45 minutes yesterday. So we can
as it is, I finally got someone just to cover for me so I can be with them all day. So I will see what I can do, but we'll chat, Casey. Thanks.
Perfect. Yep.
Awesome. Great, you guys. I was just typing in the chat. I got to step out. But listen, I hope you guys have wonderful holidays, wonderful break. Perfect timing. Sounds like respiratory things are going to heat up a little bit. Maybe they'll go crazy over the holidays and be chill when everybody returns in January. But you guys take good care of yourselves. And please have nice holidays and best wishes to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace, and same to you. We appreciate your time with us. Happy holidays. So one last thing that was in the chat, Susan Sloan had asked if anyone has been having trouble with bedbug bites. Sounds like maybe, Susan, are you looking for some resources or some general information there?
Actually, I'd love some resources if I could figure out yeah. I mean, I got kids coming in with bites all over them in numerous families, and obviously there's no resources out there to go help them to fix this problem. So, you know, if anybody has any ideas about what they've done to help families or some of these kids, please, I'm all ears for any kind of information. Yes.
And what did the health district recommend?
I didn't call the health district.
Okay, so that would be a great place to start is
Okay.
talk to the health district, and they will direct you to some good resources, and we can certainly send you some, but do connect with them about it because the family needs help.
It's very hard to get a hold of the health district and anyway, okay, I will get a hold of them, and yeah, the family needs help, and I don't know how. I have more than one family that needs help, but to help them with that situation. So
Correct.
those kids don't have to come to school like that. Yes.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, they need some help, and that could be things like laundering and a variety of things. So if you are struggling connecting with the health district or the appropriate person, let me know and we can help you. And we can also send you some other resources.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Sounds great. It is just a little after 11 o'clock. So if you need to log off and move on with your day, we appreciate your time. So thank you for being with us. I know that we had discussed earlier in the meeting, showing you where to find the links for the meetings. Kathy, did you want to do that?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. With the caveat that as of like maybe next week, these are going to be changing again. But for now, I can show you. And we're going to try to do this without being too disruptive for you of where things are housed. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And it will look very similar. So when we go up here to, when you log into your Google Drive, you're going to see a folder called Access All School Nurses. So when you log into that, the folder that you're going to be looking for alphabetically is called, let me go back into the main folder here, is called Meetings. So nothing fancy, it's just the Meetings folder. And when you click into Meetings, you can see last year's meetings and last year's materials, and then here's this year's meetings and this year's materials. So if I open it up, everything is going to be by date. So we're going to be organized by date. So today would be 12/12/23. And when you click into one of these, and it's not here yet because we're just still doing the meeting, but if we clicked like into 11/21/23, you can see that here's a PowerPoint presentation that was done, here's a PowerPoint presentation that was done, and then here's a recording. So here's the video recording of the November meeting. And so if you went back another month, you would see something similar back in October. So if we open that one up, oops, too far. So now if I go into October again, here's the PowerPoint presentations, and then here is a recording. So it'll look the same in the December one. So you can just log into 12/12/23. If you have trouble just accessing Google, then let us know, and we will get on the line with you individually and help you see how to open up a Google folder. You probably all have access to Google through your districts, and we want to make sure that you've gotten a link that is going to take you where you can access the Access All School Nurses folder. So for example, Jennifer, if I looked at the All School Nurses folder, if I went in here to this main folder and I looked to see who had access, I would be looking for your, here's everybody. So here are all the school nurses, everybody has access. And I'm looking to make sure that your name is here. Do you see your email there? Okay, so if your email is there, you do have access to it, and so it will work for you. You can get into it, but if you have trouble finding it or viewing it, then we'll just log in with you and help you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. We could resend you the link, so we can just resend it again. And then when you get it and you open it up, do you know how to star, put a star on your favorite so that you can get to it faster? You could just star it. The thing about it is when we transition these, like in the next couple of weeks, the address has to change. So you would have to go in and change it again. That's the pitfall, is we're right at the cusp of this shuffling. And so we don't want people to get too used to like, okay, it's right here. And then like in 3 weeks they go and it's not there anymore, because the address has to change when we make this transition. We can't fix that problem. So we will get you a new link and new information on how to get to it. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I'm so glad you did that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day and happy holidays.